Here you Okay, super. Well, welcome everyone to our Codex group meeting. I think this is really the first meeting this fall quarter. So I think we're excited about the year ahead. We have a lot of new things going on and new people in the community who are working on exciting new projects. And today we'll have Lauren Sturdivant, who's a CEO and attorney at Case Status, who will be joining us remotely. She will be presenting her company to us, and then Michael Sung, to my left here, is the CEO of Simple Rights, who will be speaking after Lauren. So yeah, I wanted to see if, before we get started, if anyone had any updates for the group or any kind of news to share. No one? And if you online, if you can, if you want us to hear you, you have to unmute yourself. Oh, right. I think there's a big congress coming up in Brazil in 2 weeks, actually, in Brasilia, with over 1,000 people expected participating in this legal tech congress. Yeah, so I think a lot of the global community in legal tech will be convening in Brazil then. Any other news to share, Susan? We have.
We do have an action-packed slate of Codex events coming up in October, Codex and LST. So hopefully everybody here is signed up for our mailing list, and that's the best way to stay tuned. I guess one of the marquee speakers is Jamie Susskind, who is son of Richard Susskind, but a thought leader in his own right. And he's going to be coming to Stanford Law School to give a lunchtime talk. So stay tuned.
Yeah, he wrote a book on the future of politics.
Future politics, yep.
Future politics. And so I said to Richard Susskind recently, because he has like 3 children who are all very accomplished in their own right.
Right.
I said he should stop writing on legal technology and start writing about parenting. So, it's very successful also in that field. Yes. So I guess if there's no other updates, why don't we turn it over to Lauren and Case Status.
Wonderful. Thank you everyone for being here today and learning a little bit more about what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Great, wonderful. Okay, great. Well, my name is Lauren Sturdivant. I'm the CEO and founder of Case Status. I'm also a licensed attorney. I've been practicing for over 8 years before founding Case Status. And essentially, Case Status was born out of a pain point that I experienced and I saw colleagues experience, and that is, practicing law is really all about relationships. And unfortunately, attorneys don't really do the best job in nurturing those relationships sometimes. And how can we solve this problem and create a really great experience for the client and allow the attorney to do what they really want to do, and that's practice law. So that's kind of how Case Status was born, and that's our purpose and our mission, is to build better client relationships, and in doing so, help lawyers grow their firm. Just again, a little bit about me, practicing for over 8 years. I practiced in private practice. So obviously real estate, PI, foreclosure defense, litigation. I dealt with kind of consumer-based type law, and I had roughly around 50 to 150 active cases at any given time, depending on the size of firm I was with. And I would oftentimes see clients going through some of the most difficult points in their life, and all they wanted to know was what was going on in their case. And it was really all they thought about and really all they cared about. And on the other side of it, attorneys are really busy. The average private practice attorney spends about 68 hours a week just updating clients, which is really a time waste if you think about it, when they really want to be working on their cases, resolving cases, bringing new clients in the door, and it's just essentially wasted time. Yet clients still feel in the dark. They want to know what's going on. They want consistent updates. And this disconnect causes a lot of problems in the attorney-client relationship. And as the ABA reports, the #1 complaint that the bar associations receive is that clients feel like attorneys don't communicate properly with them regarding what's going on in their case. So what we've done is we've essentially created the ultimate client experience for the client, giving them case updates, allowing them to see what's going on at any time, 24/7 into their case, and allowing the lawyer to focus on what they want to do, which is practice, and saving them time, hours each week. So we do this by providing real-time updates to clients, giving them a roadmap of what to expect, allowing quick messaging with their lawyer, and in doing so, creating this really great experience, we're able to streamline reviews and referrals for law firms. We are actually currently in Techstars as well in Atlanta, and we're backed by Cox Enterprises as well. And kind of this new, we're positioned as this new tool in legal, which is essentially client engagement and a marketing tool for law firms. So in terms of the actual product, the client comes in and they sign up, they're added to case status. The attorney sends the client a download link and they are immediately taken to the App Store or Google Play. They download the app and they immediately have insight into what's going on in their case. We've designed the product to be super easy to use and intuitive for clients of any age, so they can see what stage of the case that they're on, they can read what to expect as the case progresses, and what we're trying to do is essentially give layman's terms and general timeframes for the client so they know what to expect throughout the process. Again, just providing this transparency, this roadmap for the client, which can all be modified by the law firm on their end. And the client can always read what to expect as the case progresses, because oftentimes that is a big pain point for the client. They really just don't understand what's going on and how long things are going to take and what to expect during each stage of the case. We provide the quick messaging. So again, you know, hey, go to the app. You can read what to expect during a specific stage. If you have a quick question, you can message me through case status. What we're trying to do is eliminate unnecessary phone calls and emails with clients and streamline that communication. And then all of that communication is saved in one place in the web app that is for the lawyer. And then again, as well, with the part of the reviews and the referrals, providing this really good experience, getting the law firm on every client's phone and allowing a way to streamline those referrals. So with a click of a button, the client can refer their lawyer to other contacts easily with a click of a button, and we track those referrals for the law firm as well. And I'm going to actually take you over to the, I want to show you the web app. I apologize. I'm trying to move to the screen here. Okay, I'm going to take you over to the web portal. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
Great, wonderful. So this is the web portal that the law firm sees. So all clients are listed here, and we're logged on as Attorney Phoenix Wright. So you can assign a paralegal, the date of the case, the current status of the case, whether the case is on hold or not, the last time the case was updated, if there's any new messaging, all that is listed here as well in one place. So all communication is going through here. So what we're seeing, the firms that are using case status, is they keep this minimized throughout the day, pop in to give any new updates to the client, any new messages they respond to quickly, and then they can, obviously they're not dealing with the phone calls and emails all day. It's all in this one place that they can kind of keep control of all this. Can you see this page? This this is a specific client page. So you can assign a type of case. And as you can see here, you can easily update the client with a click when you have a new status update, and they'll get a message. All messaging is listed here as well, which is really nice. So there's no confusion. If you need to send the client, directions or links, payment links, anything like that, you can do this through the application as well. You can ask for a Google review at any given time when you feel like you're providing the client with a really great experience. And you can see the last time the client got into the app, so you always know that they are receiving your messages, and if for whatever reason they don't open the app, you can just go ahead and send them text notifications as well, and they can text you back through the platform. So again, we're really trying to create this really nice client experience, giving them information, transparency, empowering them, creating this better relationship with the lawyer, and in doing so, capturing those reviews and the referrals for lawyers, and saving the lawyers a lot of time every week dealing with unnecessary communication with clients. I'm going to pop back into the presentation here. Also, too, one of the things we're really excited about that we're working on right now and almost finished with is we have insight into law firms that law firms have never had before in terms of engagement. So partners are going to be able to see what's going on in terms of communication with their associates, how many referrals they're getting from clients, how quick associates are responding to clients. As of right now, really the only insight partners have on associates is whether they're getting client complaints or their fees they're bringing in. So this is going to be insight into the law firm that partners have really never had before. In terms of feedback from customers, we're hearing they're saving hours of time, they're closing cases faster, they're providing clients with 24/7 access, and it's been used as a differentiator for the firms that are using it, that we are a forward-thinking law firm that cares about our clients. And this is just an example of one of our current users who actually made his own web page just for case status, which we're really proud of, and he's promoting himself as a forward-thinking lawyer. And that's essentially the basics of what we're doing, a pretty simple concept, something that exists in pretty much every other profession, which is client success, and we're bringing that to legal. And that's it. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. Does anyone have any questions?
Great. Any questions for Lauren?
Yeah, I had a question. So if you have a client in a matter and you have all this communication through your platform, but the actual client files, legal matter, are they separate, or is there some way to export the information, your client communication, to the sort of main legal file?
Yes, so there's case management software, which is obviously what you're talking about, kind of the back office. So they are managing the cases, and we really are sitting as client management and client engagement. So what we do is we integrate with their case management. So we pull cases in, people into our platform, and then any messaging that goes back and forth in case status is saved back into their case management in like the notes section. So we really wanted to create this separate tool that's essentially replacing phone calls and emails, that they keep minimized again throughout the day, pop in, check. Sometimes what you're sending to the client is not necessarily everything that's going on in the back office file. So this is kind of the client communication piece.
Have you built templates for different case types for the different status and descriptions?
Yes, we have the templates that are basically when the user logs on, they choose different templates that for their practice area, and they can modify them and edit them and add as many additional case types as they choose for their firm.
And do you think that the law firms themselves will use this as kind of status metric internally of the status of all their cases?
Yes, that is, we are currently adding the features to our partner portal. So it's basically this insight, this data that we're collecting, and we're going to be able to put those kind of metrics in the partner portal. But what we're finding that's really exciting is clients are in it and they're using it and it's really sticky. They want to know what's going on, and to see that they're really interacting with it, and it also is alleviating the lawyer, and we have that kind of data is really exciting.
Any chance you'll take this into big law firms so to prevent what happened to my client, where it went from the partner that said this will be easy to the junior partner who said, sure, I'll do it, to the junior associate who didn't know what they were doing, and the $25,000 bill comes back with no answer?
Oh boy, yeah, that's a tough one, right? Yeah, that's, it's interesting because obviously this is very much like consumer type law, but we've met, I can't even tell you, especially through Techstars, I mean, the mentors and everything, this is such a pain point for everybody, from corporate clients down to, to other people that are dealing with personal injury accident cases. It's people want to know what's going on. They can't get a hold of their lawyer. They don't want to call their lawyer. So we're currently realizing that obviously different practice areas have different things that they would need in this. And we're building those out right now and kind of figuring out the next way we go, and we're trying to go the corporate route, providing that experience for clients as well.
Well, looks like a great product.
Lauren, if you stop sharing your slides, then I think we'll see you again.
Oh, great.
But, or I don't know, maybe you have to turn on your camera.
Yeah, we tested her video feed and it was working, but I've been asking her to start it and she hasn't. So maybe she.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I didn't see that.
That's okay.
But that's fine.
Yeah, we want you to concentrate on your presentation. So.
No, but
If you switch to Zoom.
Yep. Of course, we just practiced this. I'm sorry, Susan.
That's okay. No worries.
Yeah.
But I have a, do you see the, I think you have to.
Yeah, I've asked to start the video, so she just needs to respond to that.
Oh, did you? Okay, did you request that? Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it shows up on your end.
If you
Oh,
go
here
to
it
the
is. Okay.
Oh, just, yeah.
Oh, there you are.
There you are. Oh,
Great.
hi.
Hey. So how's your business model work? Do you have like a monthly subscription with the firms?
Yes, we're SaaS. So monthly subscription per user. So that's attorney or paralegal.
Okay. And so can you just talk a little bit more about, you mentioned before that you sort of, through your system, you're collecting data about the firms that the firms didn't know that they actually have. Can you sort of talk a little bit more about those kinds of data?
Yeah, just in terms of interactions that are going on internally and reviews and referrals, how many times clients are hitting that referral button, and being able to provide each firm with this kind of information, insight into their firm. One of the things we've heard a lot from the partners that we're working with is, we really want to see how associates are responding, how many times that the clients for one specific lawyer are giving referrals, that kind of insight, and to be able to show those metrics to the partner, I think is obviously incredibly valuable. So we're really excited about that.
Okay. So this is you're talking about referrals to of other clients. How do you track that? I mean.
Yes. So every time the clients hit the referral button, we can let them know that. Yeah. And as you know, in law, you can't solicit clients. So these firms are spending so much money to get new clients. They're on billboards. They're, doing like phone ads, things like that. And the best way to get new clients in the door is through current clients. So how do you really streamline that, create a better process, and then create a better experience for those clients, that loyalty, and then streamline those reviews and referrals from your current clients.
Got it. And so you're currently at Techstars in Atlanta, or?
Yes, yeah, we're in Pond City Market if you've ever been.
No, I've been to Atlanta, but not there. But so how long have you been working on building your company?
We have been building since I left my job, my well-paid job last August, because I was so passionate about this. And it's really a personal mission of mine, honestly, because I feel that lawyers, they work really hard. They have the best intentions. They really care about their clients. And I feel like lawyers get a really bad rap. And that's just because they're just not good with communicating. And, and I've also seen the other side of it. I've had clients, you know, and I've seen like what they've gone through, and, you know, they don't know when their next check is coming and they have 2 kids and they're going to get kicked out of their house. I mean, I've seen that side of it too. So it's like, how do we bridge this gap and create this better experience, and obviously reduce stress and allow lawyers to make more money? So obviously at the end of the day, that's a big piece of it.
You said, so this is more for consumer-facing kind of legal issues, you said. Do you have any kind of standard or kind of more common profile of a law firm that's using your service?
You know, it's,
like what kind of area of the law are they practicing in?
yeah, so, well, it's interesting to me, especially because kind of like, in my mind, contingency, obviously flat fee, those type of lawyers where they really don't make any money talking to clients, that is obviously kind of the lowest hanging fruit. But what we have found is this is such a palpable pain point. We have a lot of firms that do charge hourly as well. So immigration, bankruptcy, personal injury, workers' comp, employment law. We have family law attorneys, we have criminal law attorneys. But generally anything that's really stage-based, where there's lull periods, that's obviously the area that we're kind of going for more than other areas. But we do have firms that kind of see the value and they fit their practice into our solution.
Where are you with your company from sort of on the company's trajectory in terms of fundraising? Are you looking for funds, or are you funded, or? Yeah,
so we were funded by Techstars, that's like a pre-seed. We, you know, bootstrap, friends and friends. Sorry, is it echoing a little bit?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know where this came from. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, we bootstrapped it, friends and family. We had a small angel round. Obviously, Techstars and Cox backed us, and that was pre-seed, 120,000. And we are currently raising our seed right now. We've raised 200 of the 500,000 we're raising. So mid fundraise right now. And a lot of interested people that we're talking to.
Super. Great. Any other questions for Lauren?
One question for me. Lauren, thanks for presenting. Sounds like a really interesting pain point. I'm curious what the typical kind of obstacles or objections are when you go to a firm and try to sell case status. What do you typically get there?
Yeah, you know, lawyers are an interesting breed, right? It's funny because, like I mentioned, client success is like literally in every other profession, and it's just this weird new concept to lawyers. It's like they clearly get it and they see it and they're like, wow, this is really neat. And it's just, of course, changing behavior, right? Like that's always the thing. So and sometimes, of course, lawyers are not the most technologically savvy people. So I think the biggest pain point is they're busy, and that we really need to handhold in terms of implementation, which is totally fine, but also kind of showing them that this is really the future and providing client. will help you grow your firm. And some people are just never going to change their opinion on that. I think the law is certainly changing. Those are people that see the value, but those are the kinds of discussions we face.
Thanks.
All right, anyone online have a question for Lauren? You can also use the chat function. All right, well, if there's no more questions, then Lauren, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story. It's really cool. So.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And I'll be out there in late October. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, feel free to reach out at my email, lauren@casestats.com.
Super, thank you. And swing by and to say hi when you're here.
Definitely, will do.
Okay.
Appreciate
All right.
it. Thank you so
All right,
much.
Lauren. Thank you again. And all right, so let's turn it over to Michael.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you. So yeah, I'm Michael. I'm the founder of Simple Rights, and this is a pretty exciting week for us because we just released our iOS app. It's live on the App Store this week, so pretty hopeful. And yeah, I'm happy to share and hopefully, love to kind of go into details about it. So the app is called Simple Rights. It's a consumer-based mobile app for any person. And our goal is to raise legal awareness about public policy through crowd mechanics. Before I get into that, just a quick background about myself. I'm an engineer, not a lawyer. I actually am not that familiar with the law. My previous position, I was actually at a startup. We were making a social network for politics, and I was there for 3 years. And one of the challenges we faced, particularly during the 2016 presidential election, we realized was that a lot of people, your average person, kind of has varying levels of familiarity with what's actually allowed or not allowed in their society. And so the goal of this app is to try to kind of raise the bar and help the average person better understand what their governments are saying they can or can't do, because the law is constantly changing. A couple examples of kind of like things that happened in the real world. Has anyone heard of Barbecue Becky, or what happened in Wildwood, New Jersey? It was like around earlier this year. Yeah. So both of them were just kind of became national incidents. At the core of both problems, though, is just like a fundamental confusion and misunderstanding about the law. In Barbecue Becky's case, it was like whether, you're allowed to barbecue next to the lake. In Wildwood's case, it was about whether police had appropriate means to stop and search and collect identity information for when they suspect something's going on. And they end up being big national incidents because of the reaction due to this.
I'm not sure it's recording. Or sometimes there's that recording.
It is recording.
It is on your side.
Okay. Yeah, both became national incidents because of this. And, as a society, you can't claim ignorance. You can't rob a bank and say, oops, sorry, I didn't know robbing a bank was illegal. Please don't, fine or throw me in prison, right? Like, that's not allowed. That's no excuse. But the reality is, when it comes to like most laws and even smaller things, like whether you can barbecue on a beach or, you touch your identity, most people don't really know what they're allowed or allowed not to do. And so these kinds of things happen. So what's your, how do you mitigate that right now? Well, right now, you either Google, you just like find some articles online, or you can read the law. And, for probably most people in the legal profession, this is probably not that long, but for the average person, this is like almost impossible, right? Like if you Google, it's one thing if you're Googling something that's like a hot topic, like, I don't know, marijuana usage. It's another thing if you're Googling like whether you can barbecue next to a park, right? That's just, what you're gonna find challenging is you're gonna get a lot of information and it's just like not targeted. It's like you might get something in like different locations, kind of depending on what people write about. Likewise, if you try to read the law, it's just like takes too long, right? It's just like, it's not common language written, it's not like, I don't know anyone who reads the law. And on top of that, even the wording in it is not normal. Like in America, for example, marijuana is legal, right? However, if you actually try to look it up, it's not spelled with a J, as I normally would assume marijuana is spelled with. It's spelled with an H. I don't know why. So even searching across the law is just not a practical use of time for the average person. You could get a lawyer. So there are many like Q&A options, and certainly you could try to find someone on a law site that finds these people. But the answer you get, like, quality varies, especially at the narrow local level. I doubt a lawyer is going to know whether you can barbecue on that beach, right? So and then you could pay them, but that's an unrealistic hourly rate to figure out something so simple. So what do we want to do? What we want to do is we want to take the mechanics of modern social networks and tools, and we want to try to use it to present the law as personal and accessible. And what do I mean by that? Yeah. So this is what our app is. It's really a free app for any person to kind of use. What we do as a platform is we provide the law. If you're in Palo Alto, you'll see we'll provide the law for City of Palo Alto, County of San Mateo? Santa Clara, sorry. Santa Clara, State of California, and United States of America. We provide all the legislations. What users can do is they can summarize and make notes about that legislation. And then what we do as people consume is we provide a feed based on your location and based on your profile. Basically public, shareable summaries, notes about the law, kind of focus on personal freedoms. Yeah. And then what we do on top of that is we want to take advantage of familiar social network mechanics that people use on Reddit, on your Facebook, where you can, define your interests. You can upvote and downvote what people think about what is an appropriate or inappropriate, interpretation of the law. You can provide evidence and comments, links to things like your reasoning about why you think something is appropriate or not appropriate to the piece of law that they reference. And you can also hashtag. So basically, overall, just make the law more social and more relatable to the average person. So that's what we're building. We just submitted on the App Store, and we're hoping, it'll be something that at least the average person can use as a quick reference, and maybe, increase a knowledge share between the average people about like what the law actually means.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's so kind of sad that we lost our online audience now, but they can enjoy it on the video. But I think it's what you're doing is very cool. I think it touches on a couple of different things that we've been talking about in the center for a number of years, but we weren't quite able to build a solution that people actually used. And so that's why it's so exciting for us to have this kind of very interactive engagement with the startup community, to actually see people building things and making them available in the world. But what you're talking about is a form of computational law and of embedded law. Embedded law is part of computational law. Computational law is, on one hand, is the automation and mechanization of legal analysis, but on the other hand, it also means bringing the legal information as closely as possible to the human decision maker.
Right.
And you're giving these great examples, and that's, I think that's very powerful in terms of, this is part of actually our center's motto, is legal empowerment through information technology. Right. And you're describing the pain point so well that that it's so hard for the average person to really know what laws govern my daily actions, right? And so you're trying to bring it, using social networks, trying to bring it closer to bringing the legal information closer to the human decision maker.
Yeah,
it's a great example of embedded law. I've been years ago thinking about something along these lines that I called peer law.
Okay.
where I thought, I mean, how cool would it be? You could, learn a ton of interesting legal information, not from legal professionals, but from your friends.
Right.
Right. Like people who go through a specific legal situation, they either have to deal with some permitting issue with the city,
Right.
or going through a divorce or whatever it is. And they might actually, be able to point their friends in the right direction, right? You might actually save a lot of time doing that. And so I thought, well, how can we, well, part of the problem is like seeding the system, getting this kind of started. And I thought it would be kind of cool to have, to seed it with public record information, so that you could see when one of your friends, just went through a real estate transaction, for instance, and you could then say, hey, can you tell me about, how, some of the issues surrounding that real estate transaction? Or if you see somebody just got a pilot license or a fishing license or whatever, that's all in the public record, right? And if you can push that out to the social network, you might actually be able to get, valuable legal information from them. And so part of the problem there is, though, and we have some good friends in the big legal information companies, by getting access to the public record information. You have to usually go through some intermediaries, or you find another way to do that. But that's kind of difficult because they usually aggregate it from a ton of different services, and so that was kind of challenging. But anyway, so we were thinking along these lines. But it's a very cool project, and I'm really kind of rooting for you.
Thank you.
It's really super cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you for the feedback. It makes me super excited. I mean, like, if anyone's interested, it's on the iOS store. It's anyone can download right now. So far, the laws we've seeded, we've kind of been focusing on the Bay Area. So you're not going to see a lot of laws beyond like a few cities right now, San Francisco, Oakland, and some of the bigger ones. But we're hoping that people will want to help others out, and then you'll be a shareable content. Like there's some crazy stuff in like legislation that like, there's so many examples of like, oh, I had no idea that was.
I think the problem is to get like, I think there are people who are, sort of kind of passively interested in the law, but they probably won't go through the effort of like, kind of researching the law and then annotating it. I think that's the challenge of finding those users who will go through that effort, right? But if you can sort of create a system that makes legal information, that ties it to a person's, real world, like I don't care. Like, I don't care really about the next farm bill that's coming out, because I'm not a farmer, right? But if you can sort of put it into a context that makes it relevant for me, that I see how this farm bill affects my organic farmer who's selling me tomatoes at the Palo Alto farmers market, then it's relatable, right? And so how do you create an experience where you push legal information to people, to people, and make it relevant for them? Right. So I think that's the challenge. That's a hard nut to crack.
It's a hard one. I think one of the things we're hoping to do is the way we kind of frame your freedom is you have to describe your person, who's your subject, and the value of your profile is that you can customize. You can just, to a certain extent, describe yourself. And so if I am, like, for example, an employee, I want to know my employee rights. Hopefully there's content created about, on the platform where people say like, well, employees can, take maternity leave for, I don't know what the law is actually, for maternity leave or paternity leave, or, need a certain number of, breaks if they're hourly. And then they could just kind of build their own kind of smart system to filter it based on what they care about, and not worry about stuff like, it's great that there's a farm bill or something, but if I'm not a farmer, like you said, our goal is to try to make it personalized so that you can find what affects you. And kind of news is like, it's a broadcast system. We're not a broadcast system. We just want to tell you what you can or cannot do right now. And I think hopefully our goal is that eventually something like this will reduce the number of instances that you can see in a barbecue Becky or a Wildwood where, like, you're not spending hours arguing back and forth about what you think may or may not be true, Googling and into the infinite abyss.
Yeah. That's very cool. More questions for Michael?
Yeah.
Oh, the question, I mean, maybe a comment a little bit is that particularly a lot of local laws and regulations you're kind of focused on, there's a lot of stuff on the books
Mhm.
that either may not be enforced or unclear and interpreted a certain way by the city or the county.
Mhm.
And one thing that'd be very helpful to a crowdsourced sort of mechanism like this is to say, okay, here is the statute on the books, but in reality, the certificate doesn't really apply because no one ever enforces
Sure,
it, and so no one follows it,
Sure.
right? Or this particular regulation is unclear regarding zoning or whatever, but the city's view is this,
Right.
and they're always enforcing it this, even though the code doesn't say that.
Right.
So
Yeah. There's always going to be those things that come up in any sort of governance system, and I think our goal right now is to mainly focus on transparency. There's letter and intent, right? Right now we're focused on letter. At this point, hopefully the letter and intent eventually will match.
Well,
And
I can give you a concrete case to that because I was thinking this would be useful when I got a ticket for using a cell phone at a stoplight. So I didn't know that it was illegal at a stoplight full dead stop. And if you read the law, it says operating
right.
a cell phone while operating a vehicle.
Right.
So it's the interpretation. So you have to go into a recent case where a judge said momentary stops are still operating the vehicle, but that was an interpretation that just got applied recently.
Yeah. And that would be something great. Like if someone had posted on this thing, I would know, oh, I'm in California. They actually, what is it?
Oh, go.
It was California?
California, yeah. And just to your point, like just reading the letter, operating a cell phone, holding the cell phone, it's like holding a banana. Like I don't understand the difference, even somewhat understanding how to read law.
Right.
I can see you on the app looking to see if it's legal. Yeah, I was curious if it's something where even the law keepers could really use this because they might not know exactly what to enforce and what technologies do they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a challenge right now. I think, there's many governments and each government has their own tools. And, I think one of the challenges with governments is they're so focused on doing the law that the communication piece is kind of sometimes falls secondary about the community when the law changes and stuff. They're reliant on things like news or maybe it's an outdated technology or a form that isn't ideal. So a government, if a government wanted to make a profile and list on there, then obviously that would be, there's a credibility factor to that would be very obvious and apparent. But yeah.
So it seems like there's two levels to this. The first is the geopositioning of the law. So I used to be a real estate lawyer, and I always would envision these conflicting jurisdictional maps where this one piece of property has like 17 different jurisdictions that regulate it. So the geopositioning of the law is kind of part of what you're doing. So you know where you are, and this set of laws applies at the national level, the state level, the county level. Then you have assessment districts, then you have CC&Rs, then you have reciprocal easements. I mean, the level of complexity. I bought a condo in San Francisco. It was 1,500 pages of legal documents with all sorts of assessment districts and reciprocal easements. So real estate is burdened with a set of legal, both private and governmental laws. So if you've developed anything that can help geoposition that, so you click here, oh my God, 3,000 laws apply to me just for being in this spot. I better go across the county line. Oh, look at it, I lost 1,000 regulations. Go to Nevada. So you have that. And then the other thing that's interesting, when I would write memos to clients, I would describe it as, client always wants yes, no. We never give them to that. Then we write like a 5-page memo and we reason our way through, and they're saying, it's too complicated, I can't figure it out. And I would say, look, I just went into a swamp and wrestled alligators. The level of original materials, you got to read the cases, you got to read the statutes, you got to read the interpretations, the opinion letters. That swamp that you're trying to summarize is very deep and complex. So you're basically pulling the public data feeds, that are available from the raw statutes. So what's missing kind of is the priests, the lawyers that, and they, for marketing purposes, you go online and you log it, you can find so much good legal general advice.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's any way, as you feed into your expert, it would be very interesting as local lawyers that have customers are always trying to aggregate customers. So
Right.
as you build your community, maybe if you recruit, go to LegalZoom or something and just say, this is another channel for you to their network of consumer-based lawyers to GeoPosition and interpret some of these and have their names pop up.
Yeah, that's exactly one of our goals in terms of community building. Right now in terms of lawyers, when they have to market themselves, if they want to establish credibility, they can write a blog or, and kind of describe anything. But the problem is when the master SEO, it's got to be targeted, like this, that's stuff that lawyers, they could want to learn about, but I don't, it's a lot of work. With this kind of app, we focus on trying to, identifying, we deliver to the user where they are. And we're hoping that we can it'll help lawyers kind of, focus on people who they can help, and vice versa. People can then can see content from people who can help them, as opposed to kind of the dubious rat race of SEO.
So I think the unique attribute, I don't know if it's unique, but the leading characteristic of your site is it's GeoPositioning.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to kind of figure out how you build a geo community.
Right.
And it's very interesting as a lawyer, when you're trying to put together your team of attorneys, if it's federal statute, you can hire someone in the Midwest at a fraction of the cost in LA or New York,
mm-hmm.
and it's federal law, so they're just as competent. But as you dig down further into the local laws, you need that local expert.
Yep.
Real estate being the prime example. So
yep.
if you find those topics that are highly local, and then you find the legal issues that are local related, the statutes that are local related, and you build micro communities around the GeoPosition, that's probably your best competitive position.
Yep.
Thanks. Important and fascinating. I'm curious where your thinking goes in terms of voice AI for social network design for the crowd. And I asked this in the context of actually a talk from this morning online from IBM CSIG. Engineer there is using Wikipedia data and something from Stanford to develop sort of confidential 1527 questions that are IBM's, but drawing on this public data, making voice emerge eventually through question and answering. So a form of social networking, a form of development from the crowd that might build on how users describe themselves, how users can vote, how hashtags could make it easy to search. So one of the things in using Wikipedia data I was curious about was whether he would be able to, whether there was a distinction in the licensing that IBM he was thinking of. CC0 licensing, Creative Commons 0, allows for commercial use out of the Wikimedia. And that includes WikiCite, which is bibliographic data from the Wikimedia Foundation. But other online Wikimedia services use other kinds of Creative Commons licensing, which might not be commercial. So the CC0 licensing is interesting for books. Could you go further and actually draw legal opinions, legal interpretations with voice from a whole slew of books that might emerge out of the CC0 licensing? And so I'm asking where you're thinking in terms of building on peer, building on social community legal opinion for the local to head in the direction of even more authoritative, maybe local sort of interpretations of code, of interjurisdictional code, things like that. It's a complicated question, but
right.
Where do you put the voice in your thinking?
So I think I'm not sure I'm going to answer your question like fully thoroughly, but I mean, in just high level, our goal eventually is actually one of even on my earlier product was to kind of build an AI mechanism that kind of could formulate a summary from using NLP from the actual legislation. When we were building that, we found challenges in how differently laws are written. So and also there was this kind of, it was also just like, you know, if your source data was a law, it was challenging to build a rule set that would be human consumable in a way. And so we realized that, you know, a straight AI approach wasn't going to work. We realized the value in having the user express it in a way. And our hope is that from the data of how people express how they summarize the law, we could then maybe in the future deliver automated versions of that for other pieces of law. But that's like a moonshot at this point for us. Yeah.
Quick question on how you plan to, I guess, acquire folks to use this app. It seems like a lot of the use cases that you're describing are kind of reactive. Like I have this problem with the law, I'll go look
Right.
this up. You know, it doesn't strike me as the case that a barbecue Becky would proactively seek to educate herself all
Right.
the time.
Right.
So I'm curious, how are you positioning your app in terms of like, hey, you should use this for XYZ purposes? Because Quora or Reddit arguably has like an entertainment side value.
Right. Right.
Like, what is the promise here?
And I think that's kind of at the stage we're right now. That's our biggest challenge. I think, you know, there's a bunch of legal specialties. You can have like, you've got immigration, you've got, you know, building codes, you've got real estate, you've got criminal, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, which one of these legal specialties or these legal situations would a person kind of find more value in using this and help others? And, you know, as a non-lawyer, it's a little bit tricky for me to say right now. And so that's what we're doing, is we're kind of testing the market and trying to figure out which one would provide it. We currently just provide everything because the law, even just dividing up the law based on these specialized opinions. But so, and we're hoping that the community will kind of help dictate for us which one to focus on, and eventually hopefully draw people in. I think Core is a good example. Core's history, they start off with, you know, it's a general Q&A now, but when they start focused on programmers, and initially almost all the questions were like computer science related questions, and then they built their audience outwards afterwards. And so that's what kind of we're trying to figure out right now on our end, is how do we focus on which specialty. Yeah.
When you were asking that question, I saw a social media campaign with someone getting arrested and like, if I only knew.
Well, we are looking for help. So, but yeah, those are the kind of things that we're, you know, how we position.
And how are you doing in terms of traction for the system?
I mean, we just launched this week, so we're just kind of, the system's there, but we haven't started a marketing campaign. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to making sure that all the, you know, bits and pieces work. You know, at our current stage, we're pre-seed, as in we haven't taken any money. So, you know, we're kind of still, I would say it's proof of concept, but, you know, we're obviously hoping to, you know, if this is useful, then, you know, proof's in the pudding, and, you know, it'll be exciting.
Yeah,
yeah,
no, it's an exciting project. Well, thank you. Maybe one final question, if there is one. I was going to ask if there's a sharing component. Do you have like a viral or sharing component? If I see something that's useful, can I post it?
Yeah. That's one of our goals. That, you know, you can share it. Right now, it's kind of like unsophisticated, but the goal is eventually you could share it on like a Twitter or something like that, and then, you know, they would see it and be like, kind of like whatever your when you share a GIF kind of thing, and then they would jump back into our app and then, you know, discover more things about it. Yeah.
Great. Well,
cool.
Michael, thank you so much for
thank
joining us. It's been great to have you.